Welcome to Prison Professors. I'm enthusiastic to introduce you to somebody who is, I would consider, just a brand new acquaintance, maybe a brand new friend. He's a guy who served some time in prison. I don't know exactly how much time. I came across him. His name is Badger. Say hello, Badger.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show, guys.
Dude, so Badger's kind of a celebrity out here. I just found out he works in Hollywood. He is certainly very active in the discussing what prison is like community on YouTube. I've seen him on another very big channel, and I know that he has his own channel, but it's different from mine, where my audience is just going in to see guys in jail and prison, hoping to try to inspire them and keep them motivated so that they make good decisions and they can come out successfully. Badger, really, his channel, I think, focuses a lot on some of the way that he served time, and that was what got intrigued me about him. So I just wanted to reach out. I just sent him an email, as I often do, send a blanket email, say, tell him what I'm trying to do, and right away he responded. I'm super grateful to him for doing that. And
one second, I'm gonna shut the TV off, bud. Sorry, I didn't think about that.
That's okay. I'm gonna just introduce him to the group, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his journey through prison. We had a preliminary call last night where he told me that really some sad news, that he started with only a very short sentence. So, Badger, why don't you just teach me a little bit about that and let our audience hear as well?
Very well. Thank you again for having me on the show. My channel is basically focused towards the youth. I try to keep the youth out of going to the institutions, because out here they're just lining up to go to prison. Like my uncle's been there, like everybody's trying to go to prison, and it's just ridiculous. And then they're filling these S&Y yards or special needs yards or whatever you want to call them, because they don't know anything about what they're signing up for. My journey started in 1984. I went in for driving on a suspended license. I was given 30 days.
So let's stop there. Because I want to ask you these questions organically as I go, because I'm learning along as the audience. So in 1984, how old were you?
I was 17.
So you were 17 years old, and you just get arrested for simply driving on a suspended license. Is that right?
Correct.
No criminal activity.
No criminal activity.
And you get taken into the system, and what happens?
So go to court. I get 30 days. You do basically 20 days back then on that. You do 2/3 time. So even then I was stressed. I'm like, how much time am I going to do on 30? It's hilarious now that I think about it. So on day 17, I'm in there, I'm running amok, everyone's calling me pup, and I'm liking the attention. I'm going on these little missions and, this and that, and I end up in the gang module. So
in 17 days.
In 17 days, yeah.
So you probably does that mean, I know, does that mean that you had gang affiliation before you went in?
I did.
Okay, so when you got in there, did the gang members try to bring you into their crew? Or did you willingly go?
It wasn't so much that, as I was already, a couple of people had already known of me, I just didn't want to go back to juvenile hall, somewhere. I didn't want to hit the halls again, man, because the halls were active back then, and I was always told, the county jails kicked back, so I just changed 1 year on the date, So, anyway, yeah, I'm in there, and when you go up to the modules, you get sent to what type of organization you run. Like if you run NLR, you go to NLR. If you run, I can't think of anybody right now. I just got up, you guys, so bear with me. That's why I'm wearing my robe, to let you see how we live out here. We're not kicking it in a pair of boxers, playing some muddy waters, trying to get a hot plate going and get breakfast ready, So, like now back then there was only so many gangs, It wasn't like it is today. Every other street is a gang, So like you'd see certain things on the wall, P9, all these different organizations or whatever you want to call them. And LMP was right next to us. So La Mirada Punks. Well, I didn't even know that they were my enemies, when I go up there, because I'm not that active in it. I'm 17, just getting involved. Yeah, it was all bad in the beginning, bro. So I'm in there, and I read my cellie's paperwork, and I don't like what I see, and I tell my neighbor, I'm like, hey, check it out. This is what he's got on his paperwork. It's 288A. And he's like, are you serious? He goes, shoot the paperwork. Well, he was just coming back from the shower, so I couldn't shoot the paperwork. I stuffed it back in his briefcase, and I was just a nosy little fuck back then, So, and I didn't like the dude already. I was already in there, I was in there like 5 days, and listening to his bullshit wah stories had me I didn't like him, and something wasn't checking out. So, like I said, I was reading his paperwork, wrote a kite, telling him, hey, this is what's on his paperwork. In the gang modules, you don't get out. It's not like they open day room or anything like that. You're just stuck in there. So a kite comes telling me what I got to do, and they're telling me, don't just hurt him. And I'm thinking, I'm going home in 3 days. You know what I mean? Why would I do this? But I'm thinking my prison career would be over. I knew some of the dudes that were up on the row. They enticed me into thinking that, hey, he's got that on his jacket. They're going to dismiss charges. Like I'm buying into some of the stuff they're saying, but not completely. Anyway, whatever transpires the next day. Like in the morning, I was thinking of rolling it up. I was thinking of locking it up. I was going to go PC or whatever. Just tell them basically I got to go is what I was going to do, And something didn't allow that in me, I'm like, I don't know what it was. It was just back then poor thinking, man. You know what I mean? Like, what do I got to go home to? Nothing really. It's not like I had a great, bringing up or anything along those lines. So
did you make a decision at that point that you were going to go to prison for a long time?
No, I actually thought that they would dismiss the charges, bro. That's how dumb I was.
You thought that you were going to commit a crime in the jail and then they would dismiss those charges?
Due to his charges, yeah. You follow what I'm saying? Like, I thought they'll be like, I took out the trash for us. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I was thinking.
And is that what the people that were kind of influencing you in there suggested for you to believe?
Yeah, they said, man, they ain't gonna pick up the charges anyway, because it was pretty steady murders going on in the county jail at that time up there, and people were getting cases beat. If there's 5 dudes in a cell, who are they going to charge? You know what I mean? Like, they would try and pinch whoever, but if nobody talks, people were walking. But here's the problem with that: there was only 2 of us in that cell, he and I. So
did this mean, Badger, that was a turning point in your life, that you could have gone home in 3 days and instead you ended up going to prison for a much longer period of time?
Correct. Very poor thinking.
When you look back to those days right now, and you were young and impressionable and 17, what would you have done differently? What do you see in that expression of what you experienced? What would you have done differently?
Knowing what I know today, I would have minded my own business.
From the start, you wouldn't even looked at his paperwork.
Would have never gotten his paperwork. I've been like, I'm going home in 3 days. You know what I mean? Like, even if I was going to be there another 30 days, I wouldn't have gone into a shit. You know what I mean? I just didn't like the dude. I was trying to be somebody that I wasn't at that time.
That's another important lesson. So you went in there and you're looking back now with the wisdom of having done many years, many decades in prison. You can look back and say, if I were to look back and say, what are all the bad decisions that I made? And I was in prison for 26 years. So if I look back and say, what are the bad decisions that I made going in? The bad decision, I was facing life without parole for a drug case when I was 23. But when I went in, the only thing I wanted to do was get out of prison. That was it. I'd never been locked up before. That's all I wanted. If I look back and say, what did I do wrong? It was that I didn't start learning until I was already convicted. During that time, the only thing I wanted to do was to get out of jail, but I wasn't thinking about, well, what should I be doing? And in my case, I was guilty of everything they said, so I should have pleaded guilty and accepted responsibility, but I didn't want to do that. In your case, it sounds to me, as I listen to your story, that you went in there for something very minor, would never have been in the gang unit had you just chosen a different path. Is that accurate?
if I had just shut up, because like the cops swooped me up. I'm a young kid, bald head, little goatee, can't grow a mustache. You know what I mean? Like they pulled me in as a trustee. They like to pull the kids in because they know they're going to take care of what the fellas need taken care of, and we're going to sort of do what the cops say to do as well. You get what I'm saying? It's a win-win on both ends.
So you could have avoided all problems.
I could have avoided all problems. Yeah, I could have got a driver's license fixed. You know what I mean? That would have been a good start. So, I mean, all it was a suspended license, and all I had to do was go in and pay like $14, and I probably would have gotten it taken care of.
I appreciate you telling us this story, Badger, because it's a great contrast to what actually, I should say it validates what I tell a lot of people, that the decisions we make at the earliest stages of jail or prison have an enormous influence on what we experience later. Everybody on our channel knows what I experienced. Why don't you tell us what you experienced after you my
conviction?
Whatever happened, yeah.
Yeah.
And what happened? Did the person die?
Yeah, he died.
So the person died, and there was a criminal case that came after that, and
Correct.
You got a new sentence. That wasn't,
so on the
that I
day
presume was not 20 days.
On the day I was supposed to go home, they called my name anyway. So I was thinking, oh, I'm going home. Like, they were right. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going home. So, and they took me to booking front and gave me ad charge is what they did. So things got a little ill in my stomach at that point. You know what I mean? Now I'm sitting in high power, 1750 in Men's Central Jail. I'm no longer up in the gang module. I've been moved. You know what I mean? Now I'm down with the fellas. Everyone's calling me pup. I'm still getting acknowledgement that I wasn't getting at home. Good job. You know what I mean? All the stuff. I was getting told all kinds of stuff that just pumped my head up, And yeah, anyway, so, and what's funny is Judge Ito was my judge, OJ's judge.
Sure.
Yeah, so that was my judge. Anyway, I'm going to court back and forth, and I'm in the county jail for almost 3 years. During
facing murder charges.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I get it. Finally, I tell I fire my lawyer, and I tell him, Your Honor, I've never once turned down the original deal, the manslaughter deal you guys had offered me. And I put out the max. I knew it was 12 years at the time. I said, I never turned down the 12-year deal for manslaughter that you guys offered me in the beginning. I never have turned that down. And back then, it was a little bit different than it is today. The NHI, no humans involved. It was a whole lot different. Like, now you do anything, you're caught with a knife, you're going to be charged. They're charging you for everything today. As you've probably seen it a million times. I know somebody got 10 years for a syringe. It's crazy. So anyway, I ended up getting that deal. I got 12 years. This is how it started. I got 12 years. So
somebody died in your cell, and you were the only person in the cell, and you got charged with a crime, but it was a 12-year case. And so you would have went to prison with a 12-year sentence.
That's what I did go to prison with.
Okay. And where did you start?
My first institution that I went to was Chino.
Is that an administrative unit? Where we're in the federal system, was that an administrative unit, or was that
That's a reception.
Okay.
So everyone would go through Chino or Tehachapi at the time. Those were the reception centers that you go to, and then you get shipped off to whatever institution you're going to go from there.
Okay. And
so
did you know where would you be going to what level of prison would you be going to, given the nature of your charge?
So I ended up going to a 3-yard to begin with.
And you were 17 or 8? No, I guess you were about 20 at that point then, right?
I was 20 at the time, yeah.
Okay.
So I got shot to Tracy, DVI, Dual Vocational Institute. So it was basically juveniles went there as well. It was a reception center for up north, but it wasn't our reception center for Southern California. But that's the institute that I ended up getting shot to. So, which, I get there, and it was off the hook there too. Like the second day, so you're on CDQ, which is find the quarters for 10 days. And then when you come out, you go out and you introduce yourself to your people, right? So I'm asking, I tell them where I'm from and I tell them who I run with. So
did you have a goal when you went in there, Badger? I mean, you went in with a 12-year sentence. You were pretty young. And when you're 20 years old, 12 years seems like a very long time. I mean, it's more than about half of your life. Did you have an idea of saying how you wanted to come out, or was that not important to you? Were you more concerned with time in prison?
Absolutely not. I gave it no thought whatsoever. I didn't give it any thought.
So you gave no thought to what it would be like would go home. What was important to you? Your reputation in prison?
That's about it, bud. That's about it,
And how did that influence the decisions you made while you were in there?
Very poorly. Yeah, it was all bad. Like I said, so here I am with 12. I ended up doing 21. You do the math. I kept getting sent back to court, picking up cases inside, assaults, possession of weapons, introducing facility to weapons, to narcotics, to, I just got involved in everything.
What did you serve all of your time in a level 3?
No, I went level 4. I was paroled from Corcoran Shoe.
Say that again?
I paroled from Corcoran Shoe, 4A1 right.
So a lot of people read this all over the country, so they wouldn't know what that means. You were in the state of California prison system. What is Corcoran? Is that their
Corcoran is they got a 1 yard there, and then 4 yards is the majority of the yards. There's 1 3 yard, but so. It's a shoe program, segregated housing unit. It's
like
shoe
Pelican
program.
Bay?
Pelican Bay, that's what it is. It was the original Pelican Bay, basically. Tehachapi, every institute had a shoe, segregated housing unit, and they had a PHU, which was protective housing unit. So now they call them S and Y yards, and they call it in the back. It's still the shoe. You know what I mean? They don't have indeterminate shoes anymore. Before you could get an indeterminate shoe and stay in the back forever. It was horrible.
So you served all of your time inside of either a level 3 or a level 4 yard. Is that right?
Correct.
And when you look back, what thoughts do you have about your adjustment in prison?
So everything was new, bro. Everything was new. Like the camaraderie was new. The knowing that you better, I had gotten beat up several times for a lot of stuff, looking in someone's cell too long, like lots of touching the rail in the chow hall. Like I was introduced to all these new rules that I didn't know, so I was getting touched up here and there, and I was being groomed for institutions, basically, which it was horrible.
How did you feel about that, spending time? Some people are okay with that, and some people really hate it there. What was your perception? Well,
there was both. There were some days the first few calendars fell so slowly, bro. I was still being somebody that I wasn't.
Who were you?
I was a grandma's boy. Realistically, to keep it real, and then I go in there and I'm getting all this attention from like the tattoos and, the things that kids draw to, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, So like everything that was cool, it's not cool, trust and believe that. So, and I'm slung down in ink too, I just did the same thing.
What about educational programs? Did you participate in any of those?
So I had no choice but to participate, because Tracy with Dual Vocational Institute, it's called DVI. So the first thing there is you take a schooling test, and I came in at like a 3rd grade education, didn't really know how to read too well. And I've read a library worth of books now, and I still, my vocabulary isn't what it should be. I don't know. Like, I guess I've never been the smartest guy, but I'm very intelligent in the same aspect, if that makes sense. I'm not book smart.
When did you get out of prison?
I'm sorry?
When did you get out of prison?
2003.
So you were in there for 21 years. You got out in 2003. What was your mindset when as you were approaching the latter part of your sentence?
I caught another case.
You were not looking forward to getting out?
I caught another case. No, I was scared to death. I was scared to death. I ended up catching. They charged me once again with a homicide, and it was all bad.
What year were you in at that time?
What year did this happen?
Yeah.
In 99.
And so that was like 2 years before you were supposed to get out?
No, 03 is when I got out.
So a few years before, so you were ready to get out. So let's talk about 1998 then. So 1998, okay. You've already got about 15 years in or so. You got quite a bit of time in, and then you're getting close to getting out. What thoughts did you have before you got another criminal case? Were you excited to get out?
I had seen people come and go. The same people, the same faces had come and gone. You know what I mean? And I'm thinking, man, the streets must not be all that great. I would watch Baywatch and this and that. You know what I mean? But I didn't really have anywhere to go. You know, my family had dismissed me. Mom still sent me a package on occasion, but there was no phone calls. There was no nothing. No outside communication with anybody. I was scared to death. You know, I really wasn't looking forward to going home at all.
So then something happened in some kind of way. Authorities charged you with another crime. Is that right?
Correct.
And so what did that new crime expose you to? What was the potential penalty?
A life sentence at that point. Yeah.
And did you say that you didn't care if you got a life sentence, or you didn't want the life sentence? Pardon?
Well, I didn't want it, but in the same point, I didn't care. If that makes sense. Like my grandma had passed away. My grandfather had passed away. Like everybody that ever cared about me was gone. So it didn't matter. Like I didn't care. Everybody that cared about me now, or supposedly cared about me now, was inside.
And by that time, you were about 40 years old. Is that right?
No, I was 38.
38.
So yeah, coming close to 40. Yeah.
So somehow, it sounds like you ultimately were not convicted of that charge. Is that right?
No, I was not.
So you were able to get out of jail after 21 years, or out of prison. And what was your life like coming home in 2003?
So, you see me talk with Big Herc and guys like you that had made plans to come home. They had been working, doing the education thing, writing books. So Big Herc is the channel that I broke out on.
What does that mean? Remember, our guys inside, they're not going to know. They don't know Big Herc because they don't have the internet.
Okay, so he has I'm sorry, my bad. So inside, I ran skinhead. Okay, so I didn't associate with any other races at all. It's just how it was. That's what was indoctrinated into my mind. You know what I mean? You don't talk to these people. You don't do dealings with them. You don't associate with them. And that's what I trained people coming in under me. You know what I mean? Like when I would have a yard or something, same rules applied. They would get beat up for touching the handrails in the chow hall too. All the same rules that I got trained on were I would implement if I had a yard or something. So Big Herc, he did 10 years federal time for bank robbery. I met him at the gym, and the cop that owned the gym had given me a free membership for life. He had read my charges, and he's like, all right, you're with the business. You know what I mean? So he ended up giving me a free membership, and Herc was right there. Now, Herc's a big black guy. You know what I mean? A big old yoked up black guy, Hercules, he came over and he started talking to me, and hey, you could do this arm routine, you could do that. Just like breaking the ice with me. And I was still very leery to talk to other races still at the time. When I had come out, I did all the wrong moves again. I didn't care about going back. I had nowhere to be. I was sofa surfing. I went to the GR office. I got put into a motel. I didn't know anybody out here. You know what I mean? I started calling people from the phone, that I had met inside. And so my associates out here were people from in there. I got lined up with a little job here and there with a partner of mine that's doing 3 life sentences now. he brought me in and took me in at a glass shop, and I started working for him. So that's like my real first street job, you know.
How old are you now, Badger?
Right now,
Yeah.
I just turned 53.
53. I'm 56. So
You couldn't tell by looking at you.
yeah, we're close to the same age. We went to prison around the same time. You went in when you were 20. I didn't go until I was 23, but it was 1987. So similar times, but definitely different pathways inside of there. When you
different types of institutions as well. Keep that in mind. I went to the state. You went to the feds, where you're dealing with a higher class criminal.
I mean, we're all human beings, and I was in a high security penitentiary. A lot of times I hear that, I would never look at somebody as being a different class. It's just how we think and what we're groomed to do. And the only difference really I see, Badger, is that when I went to prison, I knew that I didn't want to be in prison. And every decision I made was consistent with saying, how am I going to get out of here successfully? And I knew I was going to be in for a very, very long time. You just lost the video some kind of way.
Yeah,
you did
I don't
something.
know what happened. I don't know what happened. It's showing Zoom, so let me go. What do I do?
Let's see. What I could do is break this, and we could start again, and then I could splice them in. Oh, now you're on. Okay, I'll just splice this.
I had plugged in so that in case it didn't drop, and it went to. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Still not the smartest guy, bro.
Well, you didn't. You're learning just like I'm learning every day, and
right.
and so you went. How many years, Badger, from the time you got out of a very tough prison journey? Very tough. How many years did it take for you before you started feeling stable, if you feel stable now? And for Badger's answer to my question, click the link in the description and you can get part 2 of this 2-part video with Badger.